Okay, let's just dive right in. We're looking at this really radical collision of ideas today.
Yeah, a huge one.
On one side, you've got transhumanism, this whole drive for technological self-improvement, and it's running headfirst into African humanism, which is really all about the idea of Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission for you today is to really get into that friction. I mean, what happens when a culture built on community and, shared vulnerability meets a movement focused on radical self-optimization?
It's such a fascinating clash because their starting points are just worlds apart. Transhumanism basically says that being merely human is, well, it's temporary.
A problem to be solved.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
The goal is to use technology. I'm talking genetic engineering, neuroimplants, AI, to get past our biological limits, to become post-human.
So things like, what, living forever? Or having a super memory?
Exactly. Radically extended lifespans, cognitive upgrades that give you perfect focus. That's the end game.
And if transhumanism is saying, I am because I improve myself, then Ubuntu, that's a completely different way of seeing the world.
It's the polar opposite. It's often translated as, I am because we are.
Right. A person is a person through other people. Your dignity, your very personhood, it comes from your relationships, from your community, not from what you can do on your own.
And that right there, that defines the first huge point of tension between them. Where do we even locate value?
Because in the transhumanist view, it's often about performance, right? The body and the brain are just hardware.
Hardware to be upgraded?
Yeah, it needs a faster processor, more RAM. And look, that sounds great. I mean, who wouldn't want a perfect memory?
Of course. But if you follow that thought, the consequences could be, well, pretty devastating. You risk creating what our sources call a quiet hierarchy.
A quiet hierarchy, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. These upgrades are going to be expensive, incredibly so.
So they're only for the people who are already privileged.
Exactly. So you could end up with two distinct classes of human beings. And in places that are still fighting for basic health care or food security, the idea that some people are paying to become more than human, it's just socially toxic.
This is where Ubuntu just pushes back so hard, isn't it? Because from that perspective, your worth has nothing to do with your capabilities.
Absolutely nothing. A
Mhm.
person with a severe disability, an elderly neighbor whose memory is fading,
Mhm.
they are still a full, complete member of the moral community. Their value doesn't change.
So to start measuring people by the quality of their hardware,
It's seen as a profound betrayal of that core humanist idea.
and that idea of value, it leads straight into the second big conflict here, this battle between radical autonomy and deep solidarity.
Yeah, transhumanism really celebrates that ultimate individual choice. It's my body, my brain, my upgrade.
My decision.
And that's really tough in, many African cultural contexts where your sense of self is just so deeply woven into your family, your community, your traditions.
So if these enhancements become the new status symbol, a way to set yourself apart from everyone else.
Then what does that do to the social fabric? You get this slow, steady erosion of solidarity.
It's not about interdependence anymore. It becomes a competition.
A competition based on what your engineered body can do. It just deepens that exclusion and makes the shared vulnerability that Ubuntu sees as a strength into, well, a source of shame.
Okay, so that brings up the big question. What does this mean for leaders and policymakers in Africa who are trying to balance all this?
Well, the sources are pretty clear that the first step has to be regulation.
Yeah.
We need really clear, enforceable lines between therapy, treating a disease, and pure enhancement.
Making a healthy person better than normal.
That's the line.
Yeah.
And policy has to protect people from being exploited or, just as importantly, discriminated against if they can't or won't get upgraded.
Right, so your job prospects shouldn't depend on whether you have a memory implant.
Precisely. And if leaders are loudly talking about life extension for the rich, while kids are still dying from preventable diseases, then their priorities are completely upside down. From an Ubuntu perspective, technology has to serve the whole community, not just one person's ambition.
So when you take a step back, it seems like transhumanism really forces a choice on us.
It does. It forces us to decide. Are we building a future where a person's worth is measured by the quality of their upgrades?
Or by the quality of their human relationships.
That's the whole question.
Yeah.
And the argument here is that we become fully human not by trying to escape our fragility, but by how we respond to the fragility in other people.
And that idea of dignity and solidarity,
Yeah.
that's the compass we need as this technology becomes more and more a part of our world.